What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for your NFL Week 8 Power Rankings. In this video, I rank every single NFL team from the worst team in football. I think we all know who that is, number 32. To the best team in football, number uno. So, before I get started, before I talk about your team, before I go and give you my honest opinion on your team, make sure that you do spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more BLV Power Rankings every single Tuesday. Also, spike that notification bell for the latest upload on the channel and when I'm live. Damn, I've never spoken that fast, I think, doing a video. Typically, I'm a slow guy, but we're going to take this slow. We're going to go in detail. That's why you subscribe. I'm not one of these guys that puts out 7-minute videos, 6-minute videos, bro. I put out hour-long content because I want you guys to know exactly what I'm thinking, all of the details. So let's do it. Make sure you spike that like button. Get in the Discord. Join the community. Links in the description. The Bottom Line View Discord. You could give your opinion on my power rankings there. Also, comment your opinion in the comment section below. Or if you're joining me live, let me know live how you're feeling about each team. I want to see your opinion after I rank every single team. So here we go. Let's start off with number 32. Number 32 is, of course, the Houston Texans. They have not rose on my power rankings. They are still the worst team in football, and it's getting worse, folks. Here's the problem with the Texans right now. Number one, players are quitting on them right now. Whitney Mercilus literally stopped playing for the Texans. Was awful for the Texans. Got cut. Signed with the Packers and looks like 2014 Whitney Mercilus. I wonder how that happens. Because veteran players, which the Texans have a bunch of them, they don't want to play for the Houston Texans because they suck. Now, Texans, Nick Caserio, this is a message to you, buddy. Please, I am begging you, please trade Brandon Cooks. Save my man, the Archer Brandon Cooks. Please, I am begging you, trade him anywhere but Houston. Please. I mean, preferably New England, but save my man Brandon Cooks. If you want to save Brandon Cooks, give me a hashtag save Cooks in the chat. The Texans, the worst team. They will get the number one pick, even though the Lions are the number one projected pick right now. The Lions will eventually win a game. I think the Texans are going to probably stay at one win for the rest of the year. Davis Mills is not the answer. They need a quarterback. The unfortunate part is the quarterback in the draft, not really there, right? And also, this roster is so far away from being any good at all. The only intriguing part about Houston right now is the trade situation with Deshaun Watson. We'll see where he goes, and we'll see the haul that the Texans can get for him. Otherwise, I could care less about this team. I don't want to watch them. I barely want to talk about them. So, that being said, let's go to the next one. At number 31, the New York Jets, Jets. Yes, the Jets are now 31 on my power rankings. The Jets, I discussed it on the Bottom Line Review. Their coaching staff is awful. I don't care how many push-ups Robert Saleh can do I don't care what his bench press is. The guy's scheme stinks, okay? The offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, worst in the league. Now, some influence here. Zach Wilson is hurt, meaning Joe Flacco, who they just traded for. By the way, how did the Eagles get more of a haul for Joe Flacco than the Patriots did for Stephon Gilmore, Bill? What are you doing? Anyways, the Jets blow. They lost by like 1,000 points to the Patriots last week, and it should have been worse. It was embarrassing. I'm glad that we won't have to watch Mike White. At least Joe Flacco will throw the ball up for pass interferences. That will be fun. I like Michael Carter. He seems to be the running back of the future. They've got some pieces on O&D, but they got a lot of work to do for the future of this team. Less than the Texans, but they still got a lot of work to do. And I think they need to go back to the drawing board with the coaching staff. I really do. I'm done with them. So at 31, the Jets. Every week, they just don't know what they're doing out there. And they seem like they're outcoached every week. So, Jets, 31. At number 30, I've got the Detroit Lions. Yes, the Detroit Lions do not have a win. I get it. But the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, I respect your efforts. The Lions have lost more close games than anybody. The Detroit Lions, fake punt, two of them. Onside kick, like Sean Payton in the Super Bowl, surprise. The Lions are at 30 because at least they put an effort in. The Jets, they put effort in, but they don't know. They have no sense of what they're doing. The Texans don't try, and they suck. So I'm done. The Lions are actually a team that stinks, but they play hard. And I like Swift. I think their offense is actually better than it gets credit for. And I think they're going to continue to give teams a pain in the side because they fight. And they've got a pretty good O-line. I wouldn't sleep on it either. So the Lions at number 30. They're not the worst team in the league, even though their record suggests it. At number 29, the Miami Dolphins. Why are the Dolphins 29? First of all, they lost to the Jags. The Jags, okay? Urban Meyer beat this team. Just consider that for a moment. Think about it for a moment. They lost to Urban Meyer. Secondly, they suck on defense. They stink. They can't cover. They can't get a pass rush. They play way too much man-to-man. Their O-line can't block. Tua is actually playing his heart out, but, I mean, he's not the answer. I think the Deshaun Watson trades are true. Those rumors are real. They've got skill position players, but it doesn't matter if you can't block and if you can't play defense. They stink. Brian Flores has been, to me, the most underwhelming coaching performance of 2021. At number 28, the Jacksonville Jags. Jacksonville is trending forward. They beat the Dolphins. I think Trevor Lawrence is playing well. Even though he does make a lot of mistakes, he makes a lot of big-time plays and big-time throws. He's got a good arm. You see it. At least they're watchable on offense. LaVisca makes plays in the bubble screen game. Now they're implementing a little bit of Jamal Agnew as well out of the backfield and in the slot. And I think Marvin Jones, they've got a respectable offense. James Robinson is a very underrated football player, and I'm still puzzled why Travis Etienne was even picked. The O-line isn't a complete disaster, but they still need a little bit of work. I do credit Darrell Bevell for the offensive approach because we know Urban Meyer is not doing anything except for going to bars with college girls, okay? Defensively, they blow, they stink, they're trash. Like, there's no way around it. They don't have a pass rush. Their secondary struggles. There's nothing to like about the defense. Like, almost nothing, okay? Other than the fact that they're young, their defense has nothing to hang their hat on that I like. So, Jags, they'll probably end up with 1, maybe 2 wins. Maybe they beat the Seahawks this week. They got an opportunity, but they're still really bad. You know, don't let that win versus the Dolphins get you all excited about this team. Okay? They got a lot of work to do. At number 27, the Philadelphia Eagles. They are terrible. I am done with the Eagles. I gave them a little bit of room for error last week. I moved them up my rankings, and boy, was I wrong. The Eagles stink. Their defensive scheme is the worst in the NFL. Their safeties are currently in the parking lot waiting to defend the other offense. They play the softest coverage in the league. Their pass rush has not been the same because they're how do you expect to get a pass rush? Can you guys answer me this? When all you do is rush 4. All you do is rush 4. You never blitz. Everybody knows you're bringing 4. You never help these guys get to the quarterback. And not only that, you play super soft coverage, so you're not even pressing receivers. You're not even getting in the face. You're not helping your 4-man rush get to the quarterback. Offensively, their scheme makes no sense. No sense. They're running the Oklahoma offense, but all they do is pass when their strength of their team is to run the ball. Devontae Smith is no Jamar Chase as much as I like him. Dallas Goedert always seems to be hurt when you need him most. Zach Ertz is gonzo. I like the O-line. I feel bad for Miles Sanders, but it is what it is. They stink. To me, they're the worst team in the NFC East. We should have saw this coming. I did kind of see this coming. I think I did have them last in the NFC East before the year. But it's just like they showed a little bit of energy. They showed a little bit of something early in the year. They destroyed Atlanta. They beat Carolina, but we now recognize that Carolina's terrible. The Eagles are also a team that are basically losing, not on purpose, but they're in position to be a very bad team. All the picks that they have for the future, they need to get a quarterback because I don't think Jalen Hurts is the guy. I'm sorry. Oh, at number 25, the Washington football team. Did I miss the 26? Who's my 26? Let me see. Oh, I did miss my 26. How, though? Bro, what happened? I have the Seahawks at 26. I got to fix that for you guys. But let's talk about Washington. So Washington is, you could argue they're 26. I mean, they're pretty bad. I honestly, the tough part about Seattle, and might as well talk about them at the same time. The difficult part about Seattle is that it's really hard to rank them without Russell Wilson. Because with Russell Wilson, they are one of the best teams in the league. Like, they're probably a playoff team, like, let's just say, with Russell Wilson, right? But without Russell Wilson, they're easily one of the worst teams in the NFL. You know what I mean? So that is the problem with Seattle. Let's get that graphic up. So Washington is 25. There we go. So Seattle. So yeah, Seattle defensively, I don't know what they were doing versus the Saints on Monday. Like, you've got to stop Alvin Kamara if you want to beat the Saints. You've got to, when he's coming out of the backfield, you've got to find a way. Scheme it up to stop him. You know it's rainy. It's not like you don't want Winston to force the ball down the field because wind will affect the downfield ball. The accuracy will be affected if he throws the ball down the field. They don't have the receivers to stretch the field, and they still allowed Alvin Kamara to catch the ball 10 times in the first half. I think we seriously need to consider Pete Carroll being gone because I think without Russ, they're showing their true colors of a coaching staff that has no idea what they're doing, and they're being carried by Russell Wilson continuously every single game. So that's why they're at number 26, because without Russ, they completely lack any sort of oomph, any sort of identity, any sort of reason to think that they can win a football game. They run the ball every play. They ran it versus the Saints, the number 2 defense versus the run, every single time, averaged 1 yard per carry. It was a complete joke. I am so over the Seahawks. At number 25, the Washington football team. As I suggested, the Eagles, Washington, Giants, every single week their position is likely going to change somewhere in the 20s. Washington's really bad because they have nothing to hang their hat on either side of the ball. Their pass rush is completely, utterly overrated. Chase Young has been one of the most underwhelming football players in the league this year. Facts. Their secondary is underwhelming. Their linebackers, too slow. They can't move. Their offensive line's beat up. They don't got their best player there. And their run game has suffered because of it. Taylor Heineken, he just forces the ball up into double coverage to Terry McLaurin every play. I think Terry McLaurin, there was some stat that he has the most contested catches in the league, or contested attempts, because it's like, and it's by like 15, because Heineke, when he doesn't see anybody open, he just throws the ball up. So he's struggling. He made a boneheaded play versus the Packers that could have put them in the game by, down a possession. And they actually played fairly well versus Green Bay. They competed, but there's just nothing about them I like. I continuously say this every week. I feel like a broken record, but really it's Terry McLaurin, and it's nothing else on offense. And the defense has not been the top 5 elite unit that we expected. It's actually a bottom 5 unit, which is depressing. Next, at number 24, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos. I don't know what to make of the Broncos. They started 3-0. You got a little bit excited for them, right? And then now they've lost 4 consecutive games. 4. Teddy Bridgewater on Thursday, guys, looked horrendous. I mean, his arm, he couldn't make throws 30 yards down the field. It was honestly depressing. Like, I was looking at him, watching him. He has no arm. And what does that say? What does that say about Drew Lock, that despite Teddy having no arm strength, you don't play Drew Lock? I mean, oh my goodness. It is bad in Denver at quarterback. They need a quarterback desperately. Honestly, if I was Denver, I'd do anything to get a good quarterback. Anything. Their defense is actually underwhelming. Their run defense was atrocious versus Cleveland, and it's been atrocious. They got ran on by the Steelers. Their secondary is good. They can defend the pass, but they can't defend the run, so it doesn't matter. And their receivers, really only Cortland Sutton is making plays out there. So you need more Javonte Williams, in my opinion. The Broncos, man, completely underwhelming to me on both sides of the ball. I'm just not liking it. At number 23, the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, I don't know why I have them above Denver, honestly. Like, the only reason I'll say is they looked worse than they actually are versus Tampa, because, as I said on my Best show, they are the worst matchup in the NFL when it comes to playing the Bucs. Like, the Bucs is the worst matchup for them in the NFL. That's why I took the Bucs. That's why I was on the Bucs. It's a terrible, terrible matchup. But the Bears, they got to figure out Fields, because I feel bad for the kid. Honestly, I've never been a big Fields guy. You guys know this. When I evaluated the quarterbacks, I think I had him 4th or 5th in the class. Like, I was never high on the Bears or on Justin Fields, especially with the Bears. But I feel bad because the offense isn't formulated to surround him well. Like, They don't do enough in terms of big shot plays down the field off play action. They don't do enough in terms of designed run game. They don't do enough in terms of getting him under center. They don't do enough play action. They don't do enough of the things that help him play well. And that to me is depressing. So I don't like that about the Bears. Matt Nagy's got to go. They got to find a coach that can actually put something, an offense and a structure around Justin Fields. I think they found something with Herbert at running back, and him and David Montgomery could potentially be a special duo with Justin Fields in the run game if they can figure that out. They actually got a pretty solid interior offensive line, but their tackles are awful, and Shaq Barrett and JPP dominated them. Allen Robinson is invisible. He is invisible. The defense is good. They just played Tom Brady, so I can't really be mad at them, but their front seven is pretty talented. Their secondary needs some work. They're not making the playoffs. They've got no chance, but they are one of those teams that if they get the right matchup, they can be very feisty and they can win. So that's why I have them at 23. At 22, the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, Sam Darnold has been arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL since the 3-game winning streak. Since week 4, Sam Darnold has been the worst and the lowest graded quarterback in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus, and I don't disagree. He has been very bad under pressure. He almost is seeing ghosts once again. I saw a play on Twitter where Jabril Peppers blitzed and he fell down, and then he scared Sam Darnold because he stood up, and Sam Darnold started running around, throwing the ball around like I don't know. He looked scared, and he's inaccurate right now. He's not trusting what he's seeing. The offense is getting a little bit stale. DJ Moore has become invisible. They seem completely lost without being reliant on Christian McCaffrey. They need to go back to the drawing board on both sides of the ball. I think the defense still needs some work because people are starting to see, they have tape of this defense. They understand what works, what doesn't, because the defense was very fresh last year and early in this year where there wasn't a lot of tape on it, but now people are seeing the tape and they're able to decipher it and attack it. And the same thing goes for the offense. So Carolina, I like some of their players. I like some of their position groups, but their offensive line, their quarterback is the reason they are very bad right now and just absolutely down bad. At number 21, the New York Giants. The New York Giants continue to be the team that goes up and down and up and down and up and down in the 20s of my power rankings. Personally, I'd say this every single week. I like the Giants. The problem with the Giants is they are always hurt, and now we heard Jabril Peppers is also hurt, so that stinks. But I mean, you've got guys like Saquon, Kadarius Toney, Golladay, all hurt, and they still shellacked the Carolina Panthers. So I couldn't put them below the Carolina Panthers. Here's the thing: Daniel Jones is a top 20 quarterback right now, and when they have Daniel Jones and his weapons, they can compete because they can score, and that's what I like about them. So they can't be too low. I think if you put them below 22, 23, you're losing your mind because they can score when they have players on the field, okay? Even though they have a bad offensive line, and Daniel Jones is scoring despite a bad offensive line. Their defensive line, their front seven's figuring it out. Credit the coaching staff there. Leonard Williams had a huge game versus Carolina. Who's the second-year player? Is it first-year player? I forgot his name, the edge guy, but he had like 2 sacks versus Carolina. And the Giants, their defense may be turning the corner here a little bit, but I think the Giants, they're that like final team in the NFC that I give like a small, tiny chance to make the playoffs if they can get healthy. Because the NFC, the wild card, is a very weak race. At number 20, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are somehow 3-3. Like on paper, their roster suggests they are not a 3-3 team. They're nowhere close to the hunt, but they are. Matt Ryan's playing very well, quietly in the top 10 of PFF's quarterback ratings right now. And I think, yes, he's torched some bad defenses, but hey, man, that's what he's got to do to beat these teams, and that's what he's got to do to get wins for this team because they're not a great defense. They fight hard. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't give up a lot of big plays, but they're not talented. They simply don't have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Kyle Pitts, big reason they've won the last couple of games. He is coming into his own, and Arthur Smith is figuring out how to use him. Cordell Patterson's still a big part of this offense. Calvin Ridley's been a little shaky, but I think, Atlanta is going to continue to compete if Matt Ryan can play at this level. So at number 20, I got Atlanta. At number 19, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, they've gotten a little bit better. They've obviously benefited from some bad teams in Denver and Seattle, but you've got to put them to a certain level because their coach is good. They've got a veteran quarterback. They've got a great defense when they play and they dominate up front. And they're kind of, to me, a better version of the Bears. That's kind of the way that I look at the Steelers. Their run game has gotten a little bit better. Their offensive line has gotten a little bit better. Not having Juju is a little bit of a loss, but Deontay Johnson is a baller and Chase Claypool can make big plays. I think Ben needs to be more consistent and less turnover prone, and if he can do that, I think that they can compete for a wild card spot, but I really truly don't see them as that in my mind. I personally see them as an average team. Okay, their secondary can be taken advantage of if you can block them, which was not the case the last 2 years. They were just an all-around good defense. So they've kind of regressed in all areas, but there's still a team with Mike Tomlin, Big Ben, and that defense where you can't necessarily rule them out necessarily. So at number 19, the Steelers. At number 18, the San Francisco 49ers. I've moved them down. The 49ers quarterback is a disaster. Either one they go with is not the answer to me right now. The offensive line can't pass protect. Brandon Ayuk is invisible. Eli Mitchell's the only guy I'm excited about with Deebo Samuel. George Kittle is turning into Rob Gronkowski 2.0. But the problem is the Niners don't have Tom Brady to carry them without him. And the defense it's solid, okay? The front seven can get pressure and they can stop the run. But their secondary, man, they don't have the corners to play man-to-man, which forces them into predictable coverages, and that's just really tough to do in the modern NFL. So they just don't have it this year. Like, they don't have the answers to the test right now. And Kyle Shanahan obviously deserves some blame, but I think he's getting way too much in the mainstream media right now. I think people that are blaming him are just off their rocker because the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. And there's a lot of problems with this team. And I think more so it has to do with the personnel decisions that have been added up here to really negatively impact the team. So I think the 49ers are probably going to miss the playoffs again at number 18. At number 17, the Cleveland Browns. I am extremely disappointed with the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, obviously, they lost Baker Mayfield, so that hurts them. Baker hasn't been healthy, and he's not been the same player. Hurt, but, losing your starting quarterback is going to hurt any team. Now, Cleveland does have a very good roster, but the thing is, other players are also hurt. Defensive players, Odell Beckham is hurt. Jarvis Landry's constantly dinged up. The Browns, they can run the ball on anybody. Like I say this every week, the 2000 Ravens couldn't stop the Browns running the ball. The Broncos, it was 3rd and 6. The Browns are so good at running the ball. It was 3rd and 6 to close the game out, and they converted on the Broncos. That's pretty impressive, And if Odell can get healthy and Case Keenum can maybe turn into 2017 form, they still got a shot. I just can't trust it. I really can't. Their defense is really the reason why. If their defense was stronger, I'd have more trust in the Browns to still make the playoffs. But their defense is too inconsistent. It's too vanilla. And I can't with the Browns. I just am disappointed in so many different areas. So Cleveland at number 17. At number 16, the New Orleans Saints. And this speaks a lot because I think the Saints are not a very good football team. They're just about as average as it gets. Their defense is talented. I think, honestly, they might be the best defense in the NFL. I'm not going to lie there. They played the Seahawks. They maybe gave up one play of significance. That was a DK Metcalf touchdown. Other than that, they've been dominant. They had a kind of a bad game versus the Giants, but they've been dominant for the most part all year. Their front can get pressure. They can stop the run. They've got depth everywhere, it seems like. Their corners are very talented. They can play man. They can play zone. They've got safeties that can play. Honestly, in a league with not a lot of good defenses, the Saints have an advantage because they have maybe the best one. And their offense is just lacking a lot of talent. Jameis is Jameis. He's inaccurate, short. He's a downfield passer that doesn't have receivers to throw the ball down the field. He's kind of erratic. He holds onto the ball a long time, which hurts their offensive line. And their run game is not as good as I expected it to be. You know, I thought the offensive line would dominate a little bit more than it has, but because they don't have receivers to stretch the field, and that would include Michael Thomas when he comes back, that everybody plays them single high, everybody comes down in the box, and everybody plays Kamara, except for the Seahawks out of the backfield. So I think the Saints are just going to struggle on offense this year. They just don't have enough answers. They don't have a tight end. Their receivers stink. So it's really their defense and Sean Payton that carries this team, and that's why they're at 16 in a position to make the wild card, but I don't see them being much of a threat at all. At number 15, the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts don't quite have the defense of the Saints, but they're built rather similarly. I think Carson Wentz has been playing better than Jameis. I think Carson Wentz has quietly been playing pretty well for Carson Wentz. You know, he hasn't been turning the ball over as much. He still holds on to the ball for a very long time, but he's been more accurate. You know, he's been more sound. He's making better decisions. I think Frank Reich's helped him exponentially. Frank Reich's still the most underrated head coach in the NFL. Offensive line's pretty good, even with the injuries. I think Michael Pittman has become the number one receiver they've needed. If they get T.Y. back, that will really help because he'll stretch the field for Pittman underneath. Jonathan Taylor's very talented. The defense, they're fast. They're fast. They don't get ran on very much. And yes, the corners aren't very good, but they haven't really been in a position where they've played a lot of great passing attacks. You know, outside of really the Rams and Russell Wilson, they haven't really played anybody that can take advantage of that. So as long as that keeps happening, I think they'll be fine. To me, they're a wild card contender, but probably the outside looking in at the moment. Got a tough schedule. At number 14, the New England Patriots. I see the Patriots and the Colts at a very same level. The thing with the Patriots, though, is they have a rookie quarterback. So they continue to get better, in my opinion. So New England has gotten a little bit beat up on defense, but their offensive line is playing really, really well right now, and they're only going to get better when Trent Brown comes back. I think Michael Onwenu is arguably the most underrated football player in the NFL right now. He is absolutely amazing. He plays guard and tackle. He's moved to tackle now to help this team. They got Jonnu more involved versus the Jets, although Hunter Henry's been great for them. I feel Jacoby Myers is again an underrated player. I think Kendrick Bourne is becoming a New England receiver, which is what we want. But Mac Jones has to be in the top, at least the top 20 quarterbacks right now. The way he's playing, the way he makes decisions, the way he communicates, the way he leads. He's already in that category where he's top 20 as a rookie 7 games in. He doesn't make mistakes. He's high completion percentage. He moves the chains. And as long as he keeps getting better with the deep ball, as he did versus the Jets, as he has the last couple weeks, they're going to be a more dangerous team because their offense is going to now score some points to help that defense that plays sound football. They're not dominant, but they're pretty good. They get stops. You know, they're better versus the run this year. I think they're probably around the top 5 if I were to guess. And their pass defense is good on third down because they're great with scheming up some blitzes and things. So New England's not a dominant team. They're not a great team, but I think they will compete for a wild card spot because they're pretty balanced on both sides. They do everything kind of well, but they don't necessarily do anything great. If they can get that run game really going and become great in that area where they've ran for 100 yards in back-to-back games, they might potentially have something they can hang their hat on. But that's kind of the thing that's missing to me right now. But New England's at number 14. We'll see how they do versus the Chargers, which are a legitimate team that they have to go play. At number 13, the Vikings. I like the Vikings. I think they're getting better on defense. Zimmer is always fantastic on third down, the way he schemes up pressure and the way that he messes with opposing protections. He's really good at that. I think their secondary hasn't necessarily showed its true colors. I don't think their secondary is very good. But they do have a strong front seven, and that will keep them in a lot of games. They can get pressure, they can stop the run well, and Zimmer's a good coach. Offensively, they run the ball on everybody like the Browns, but they lack a lot in the drop-back pass game. Justin Jefferson's a monster. Adam Thielen's very good still. Dalvin Cook makes plays. Alexander Madison makes plays. Kirk Cousins playing really well. I think the Vikings are a good team. I see them as a playoff team at the moment, but I'm not sure if they're really a contender or anything of that sort. So at number 13, the Vikings. At number 12, the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs have moved outside my top 10 for the first time this year. They simply are not playing sound football on either side of the ball. They are playing erratic football on both sides of the ball. Patrick Mahomes is probably the most overrated athlete in the world at the moment. He is making way too many mistakes. He doesn't take enough just Mac Jones throws, I guess, what people would call it in the chat. Just enough checkdowns. You know, he doesn't take the easy stuff enough. He needs to relax. He needs to play just more within himself. He needs to stop trying to be Superman every play and be Clark Kent. The offensive line is kind of iffy here and there, but they can dominate in the run game, but their pass protection is a little bit inconsistent. And they don't have a third option. You know, everybody knows, take away Tyreek Hill, you can stop this offense. And that's really what I've seen. And without Darrell Williams as a running back doesn't help them because it doesn't allow them to really be balanced. So it's tough there. And then defensively, I don't think they're ever going to get it solved this year because they don't have the players. They don't have the talent. The safeties are bad. The linebackers are slow. The D-line can't get pressure without blitzing. It's a problem in Kansas City. I think they can maybe make the wild card, but I do not see them winning this division the way that the Raiders and the Chargers are playing. So at number 12, I have the Chiefs. At number 11, the Raiders. The Raiders have a good offense. Derek Carr is playing better than Patrick Mahomes. I know you don't want to hear it, but he is. And he's playing sound, efficient football. He's playing accurate ball. He's making good decisions. He's getting rid of the ball quick, which protects his bad offensive line. Remember, everybody wants to say about Mahomes, and I don't mean to bag on Mahomes, but I think it needs to be said because I think people, there's that crowd out there that won't get on Mahomes even though he's playing bad. Derek Carr is protecting his offensive line by getting rid of the ball. He played the Philadelphia Eagles last week, and he barely got touched, and that's because Derek Carr got rid of the ball. Hunter Renfrow is a very underrated football player. Yes, he's white. Yes, he's dorky. Yes, he's a goof, but he's good. Darren Waller was beat up, didn't play, but still they put up 30 burger. Josh Jacobs hurt, doesn't matter. Henry Ruggs is a difference maker. He doesn't really always show up on the stat sheet, but the impact he has with his deep posts and crossers and streaks and just the speed he has is a difference maker because defenses got to pay attention to it. And the defense is sound. It's not very unique. It's not creative necessarily, but their pass rush can get there with Crosby and Ngakoue. The D linemen inside are playing well enough. The linebackers, they've got a lot of them. Nate Hobbs is playing really well. Casey Hayward's playing really well. You got to give them credit on defense and what they've been able to do there with maybe not the most talented unit, but they play sound football. At number 10, entering the top 10, the Los Angeles Chargers. So currently I have the Chargers as the best team in the AFC West. I think if they're not ready this week, and yes, I am a Patriots fan, but if they're not ready this week, they might get upset this week. They're coming off a bye. Justin Herbert's playing phenomenal ball. He needs to bounce back after a bad game versus the Ravens. They need to figure out a way how to stop the run. The reason I don't have the Chargers higher is because I see clear deficiencies and flaws with this team that I don't see with others. Their offense is lacking a lot of creativity. I don't think they use play action enough. I don't know the stats on that. I don't think they use play action enough. I don't think they use motion enough. I think they need to do more offensively. They need to have more of a repertoire that's not as easily diagnosed. It can't be all on Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler. It can't be all on the talent. And defensively, they're good in the secondary, but they can easily be taken advantage of in the run game. So they need to fix those two things. If they can do that, they can enter the elite realm. But right now, I think they're outside of that. At number 9, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are, to me, the reason I have them higher than the Chargers, even though Herbert's better than Burrow to me, Burrow is right now playing like a top 12, top 13 quarterback. And he's got the swagger, the leadership, the confidence. And it is all about with this team. And Jamar Chase is a difference. He is unbelievable. I mean, he might be a top 5 receiver right now, the way that he makes plays all over the field. Every third down, every big play, Joe Burrow's going in Jamar Chase. You just know it, and he's still making plays. The O-line isn't a disaster. Joe Mixon runs the ball despite a bad O-line. CJ Uzoma, underrated player. Tyler Boyd's good. T. Higgins is good. They've got a talented offense, and Zach Taylor has upped his game as an offensive coordinator. Defensively, they're probably the most underrated defense in the NFL. DJ Reader, Trey Hendrickson, the way that they're stopping the run. Logan Wilson in the middle has helped them. Jesse Bates, their secondary is very under the radar. Awuzie is playing good football. I think they're an underrated defense. I like how they play. They don't do a lot crazy stuff, kind of like the Raiders. They play very similarly to the Raiders, but I think they might have slightly better talent. So I really respect the Bengals, the way that they're playing. They play hard. They've got that young swagger. You like to see it. At number 8, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are an interesting team to figure out. I moved them down a little bit because they didn't really play well versus Washington despite them covering the spread. Aaron Rodgers is still great. Since week 1, he's been a top 10 quarterback in the league, but week 1 was so bad that PFF doesn't even have him ranked there, which is funny. But Aaron Jones has been, I don't know where he's at. Can we find Aaron Jones? The run game hasn't been as good lately, which is bad heading into a Cardinals game without Adams and Lazard. They're likely to lose this week because of that, which hurts. But the O-line is still playing kind of good despite all of these injuries that they have. And I want to see more Robert Tonyan. I don't see enough Robert Tonyan in this offense. I need to see more. Maybe this will be a blessing in disguise for Aaron Rodgers and this receiving core that there's no Tay. Because without him, now you're going to have to spread the ball around and find second, third, fourth options. And maybe those guys rise to the occasion. I will say something I like about the Packers right now. Their defense is playing really good football. They're playing very sound football. I like the scheme this year. I think the switch to the quarters and switch to the Fangio scheme was a good idea. I like the way they play it. Zadarius Smith coming back would be huge for the team, but Rashawn Gary's playing really, really well. So the Packers at number 8 for me. You could argue they should be higher, but they've got a lot of injuries. I expect them to lose this week, and they haven't necessarily been dominant lately. At number 7, the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have had 2 very good wins the last 2 weeks, but I'm still not willing to say that they're like the top team in the AFC. I think the AFC, though, is significantly worse at the top than the NFC, clearly, if anybody has been watching football. But Ryan Tannehill is still playing well. I don't think they have enough in terms of their passing game. When Derrick Henry gets shut down, they rely a little bit too much on Derrick Henry and the ability to run the ball. But A.J. Brown being healthy definitely does help, and he torched the Chiefs. The defense, I think, could be the key to unlocking this team as a contender. If they can continue to get pressure with the front four and play sound in the secondary, I think they've got a chance to make noise, but I'm just not completely sold that in the playoffs, that is all going to come true for them. Derrick Henry, I think the positive about the game versus the Chiefs is that he didn't really do much. You know, he had 3 yards a carry, and they still dominated. So that's big news, and that's good news for them. So the Titans at number 7, they have entered the top 10 firmly, but I am not willing to say they're a top 5 team just yet. At number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens got pounded by the Cincinnati Bengals, but I think some of that was a little bit of overlooking Cincinnati. Coming off a big win over the Chargers definitely might have inflated their ego. I think the Ravens have somewhat gotten lucky in some of their games, which does concern me because, they were kind of lucky to beat the Chiefs. They were kind of fortunate to beat the Lions. There's definitely flaws that exist there that maybe have flown under the radar in the wins and losses column. But then there's other weeks where they're dominant offensively, they're dominant defensively. They're just one of those teams that can't quite get it all together in terms of being that elite team. The only game I've seen that from them is the Chargers. That is it. Every other game, it's rather the offense plays really well or the defense plays really well. And I can't really find their altogether, all-around complementary football game that they need to win in the playoffs. I think they need to do more with Lamar when it comes to under center stuff. They don't do enough. I think they need to add that element to the offense for more unpredictability. And I think defensively, they need to tackle better. I mean, that is number one. They can't allow all these yak plays, especially against a Bengals team. I mean, the Bengals went 0 for 2 in the red zone and still put up 40 on them, which just speaks to how bad they were tackling in that game. At number 5, the Dallas Cowboys. I think my top 5 is very obvious. I have my top 5 secured. I think this should be everybody's top 5 in some way, shape, or form. At number 5, the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott's playing like an MVP. CeeDee Lamb has become their true alpha receiver. Outside, inside, route running's phenomenal. Hands, he's got the yak ability. He is a complete, arguably top 10 receiver in the NFL, and Amari Cooper's not that far behind when he is playing and he is healthy. Zeke and Pollard are dangerous. You've got to respect them, and that opens up the ability to hit you down the field with one-on-one matchups. If you don't defend the run versus this team, they'll just pound it down your throat, and you won't stop them. Dak, I thought, showed so much composure versus New England. You know, they showed him a lot of different looks. They blitzed him. They pressured him. He was constantly extending plays, constantly making something out of nothing, and that was very impressive to me. It's not easy to do in New England in a big spot versus Belichick. That is not easy to do. So give Dak a lot of credit. I think he's risen even higher than I expected in terms of his just growth as a football player. And I think the quiet thing about Dak is I think he's quietly one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think he gets enough respect for that. I think a lot of people kind of clump him into the category of, like Mahomes, Allen, Kyler, but he's more to me like Tom Brady than he is, Josh Allen. So I think Dak's playing really, really well. And then defensively, they're still missing pieces that I expect to help them, like Lawrence, who's a beast. And their secondary, it's a little bit come and go. Trevon Diggs, I think, is a little bit overrated, but he's making a lot of plays. And they make plays, period. They make big sacks. They make big fumbles. They make big coverage plays. Pick sixes. Big Randy Gregory is a monster. That guy is a player. So Cowboys, really, really good. I think you could argue they're number 4 too. I mean, they're number 5, number 4, somewhere in that range for me. At number 4, I got the Buffalo Bills. I put the number 1 team in the AFC, number 4. I think the Bills, a lot is going to be, a lot was made of them losing the Titans. I think that was a little bit more fluky than we give it credit for, because the Bills at the end of the day were the better team in that game for most of the day. And they kind of lost the game because Josh Allen slipped on a quarterback sneak, which probably happens 1 out of 85 times. So, that's kind of fluky. Their defense, though, is still playing like one of the better ones in the league when they're not facing Derrick Henry. Their secondary is very sound, and they play very good, consistent football on that side of the ball. They're not super talented, but they're very well coached. And offensively, Josh Allen is a playmaker. Cole Beasley in the slot. Emmanuel Sanders is better than I expected him this year. Stephon Diggs is coming into his own once again. Dawson Knox is another weapon they've got. Their running backs are playing better. They're running the ball better. I think this is the best team in the AFC. I don't think it's a question to me. So they're number 4. At number 3, the LA Rams. So I've moved number 2 and number 3. So number 3, I've got the Rams. The only reason I moved the Rams down is because I just thought it was too competitive there versus the Lions. Even though the Lions played their ass off, I felt like that was, too close for my liking. Matthew Stafford played amazing, and they still kind of didn't play well. So that is the problem. The defense isn't as good as I think people think. They allowed over 400 yards to the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. That's not exactly good news, but they come up with big plays when they need to. Aaron Donald's been a little bit more invisible than I expected, but Jalen Ramsey had a big pick there, and their run game's good. Cooper Kupp is absolutely phenomenal right now. He is one of the best receivers in the league. They've got a good coaching staff. They put together good game plans. They've got a quarterback that can make plays when they don't have it all go right. And that's the difference with the Rams this year as opposed to last year. At number 2, the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are undefeated. Credit them for that. They play Thursday on Green Bay. I was expecting that game to be probably, a little bit more competitive with Adams in there and Lazard in there, but that's not going to be the case. Cardinals are a very good team right now. I think the difference for me between the Cardinals and the Rams is the way their defense is playing as opposed to the Rams defense. I think the Cardinals defense is playing better than the Rams defense. They're getting more pressure. They're stopping the run better. They've got freak athletes everywhere. The thing that I think the Cardinals haven't really seen yet is a good passing attack. Outside of really Matthew Stafford, who kind of had a bad game, they haven't really seen, Brady. That's why I wanted to see Rodgers versus, Rodgers with Adams. So they haven't really seen those type of passing attacks where they can truly take advantage of that secondary. They haven't seen Dak. That would be an interesting matchup to me. But offensively, we know they're good. I think they've kind of hit their peak there, though, which is a little bit concerning to me. I like their offense a lot. I don't think it's quite like top 3, but it's like top 5-ish. Kyler's playing really, really well. I think they need to find a way to get Rondell more involved and maybe AJ Green a little bit less involved. I love Chase Edmonds as a player. D-Hop's a beast. I just think there's going to be a point in this year where their offense has like a bad game. I just see it coming. They've had bad games already, like the Niners game, but there's just moments where like even the Texans gave them fits for like a whole half. So I think that Cliff offense is just, it's just not, I don't know. Personally, I'm not a big fan. So at number 2, I think the Cardinals are an excellent football team. They're playing great football. There's no question. I just think down the road, they're a little bit less reliable than my number 1. And here's the difference with the BUCS, okay? The BUCS have lost 1 game in the last 15 games. That was versus the Rams. They have again, I say this every week. They have the best player in the NFL. And when healthy, they have the best roster in the NFL. They're not currently healthy, but they do. Their offensive line's arguably the best as well. At least in combination with Tom Brady. Leonard Fournette, guys, is playing unbelievable right now. He is the number 3 running back in PFF WAR, which is wins above replacement. Mike Evans is a monster right now. Antonio Brown didn't even play. They put up 35 points in the first half versus the Chicago Bears defense that is the, top 5, top 10 defense in the league. That is insane. They don't have Gronk. They don't have AB. And they're putting up 35 points at halftime. Their defense, I think, is playing a lot better. It's playing a lot better. Shaq has come to play. Vita Vea is a monster. JPP's getting better there. But Richard Sherman being on this team, not playing, but he was coaching. He had the headset on. He has actually, I think, elevated the game of all these young defensive backs. I mean, Jamel Dean has been one of the best corners in the league since week 2. So it's been unbelievable the way that Todd Bowles has been able to get the best out of this defense despite all of the losses that they have. And they just continue to steamroll teams in a way that I don't think any other team is doing at the moment. So when you look at it, when you look at the playoffs, right now, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals have never won a playoff game. Matthew Stafford's never won a playoff game. And you expect them to be ranked above Tom Brady. It's just not going to happen for me. I'm sorry. So the Bucs, to me, are the clear best team in the NFL, even though they have the second best record. So I have Tampa Bay at number 1 still. I'm going to continue to put them here until they prove to me otherwise. To me, they're only getting better right now. They had a bad game versus the Rams. Otherwise, they're going to keep getting better. So they're my number 1 team. Those are my power rankings for week number 8 of the 2021 NFL season. Let me know in the comments how you feel. Let me know who your number 1 team is. Let me know how you're ranking it, number 32 to number 1. Thank you guys for joining me here live. It's Mitch. Make sure if you did enjoy to Gronk spike that like button. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content just like this. Peace.